This podcast is brought to you by Elite Level Status Wines. My wine journey started with drinking cheap grocery store wines that were really acidic and gave me headaches. Then I switched to quote-unquote luxury, but overpriced, full-bodied wines that were really heavy and had a bad aftertaste. The inability to find the perfect wine led to the creation of Elite Level Status Wines. Elite Level Status Wines are approachable, medium-bodied wines with great flavor and minimal aftertaste. And with me being a health-conscious person, I wanted to create a wine that was lower in sugar and lower in calories than the full-bodied mass-produced wines that we always see. We currently have two wines. First is our Cabernet. It has notes of blackberry, cinnamon, plum, nutmeg, and French vanilla. Then we also have our rosé wine. Our rosé is going to be a flat, dry, pink rosé with subtle strawberry and raspberry flavors. Both wines are medium-bodied wines with less sugar and less calories, and they're both available on my website, elsfinewine.com. Check them out, and I hope you love it. Thanks for clicking the link and checking out the Elite Level Status podcast. Since you're here, I have a special offer just for you. It's 15% off either of my wines. So click the link below and check them out, and I hope you enjoy the podcast. Elite Level Status podcast, we're back again. Today's guest is a relationship expert and strategist that went from single to married in 10 months. Her name is Alexis. She's in studio. Alexis, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me. I'm so glad to be here. So glad to talk all things dating with you.
I love it. I love it because you're an actual dating coach, so you can speak from a position of authority today. So
you know it.
Yeah, for sure. That's why I'm glad you're here. So first, let's talk about your background first. Where and how did you grow up?
Where and how? So I was a little bit of a nomad in a way. I was born here in Vegas, but we moved away when I was a baby to California. And then I lived in Colorado, and then I lived in Ohio, went to undergrad in Virginia. And then for my old career working in television, I lived in LA and Atlanta for that as well. And eventually made my way back to Vegas, and here I am.
Love that. Love that. What led you to becoming a dating coach?
It's actually interesting. It was kind of organic in a way, in the sense that I've always been the advice queen, Some of my friends call me their unofficial life coach, that type of thing. And I was working in PR for a firm where most of our clients were exclusively dating sites. And so just naturally, I spent a lot of time researching modern romance, which just helped me give even better advice. And eventually, instead of just being the publicist for these brands, I became an in-house dating coach for several well-known dating sites. And then once I realized I'm so good at this, I love this, I'm going to leave the rest of it behind. And COVID really helped accelerate things for my date coaching business. And then after that, that was it. And that's what what I decided to do. I was I want people to find love. Real love, lasting love, if that's what they desire. Everybody doesn't, but many people do. And I love it. I absolutely love it.
And it's very, very smart, in my opinion, because the sign of a good business is when you can help people and solve a problem.
Yes.
Relationships are some people's biggest problems. So the fact that you've taken it on and, you're giving back to the community in a way, you're solving a massive problem for a lot of people, which in turn, good for you, because that's an amazing business model.
Absolutely. And I mean, really, I solved my own problem. It was a problem for me, and I was giving all this advice, and I'm okay, I'm giving all this advice, but I'm not taking my own advice, which is a little bit absurd. And so then one day I was that's it. I now take my own advice too. And once I did, everything changed.
Right. I love that. Okay. So let's get in that. And I'm going to be taking notes here today too. So, a lot of the advice that you say today, I need to use for myself. So first of all, what are your thoughts about the current dating market?
I feel for the current daters out there, the modern dating landscape it's tragic in a way. And I think, it makes me sad because so many people do want, good, authentic, real relationships. But I think social media and just the way that we operate now as a society has made it really difficult for people to connect in a real way. And people are so worried about so many surface level things that they really stand in their own way, block their own blessings, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel especially in Vegas, everyone tends to say that the dating market is trash, but I know so many good people in Vegas.
Me too.
And I feel there's a disconnect because how there's so many good, well-meaning, aspirational, fun people in Vegas, but everyone thinks the dating market is trash, right? So that's why I wanted to start this platform and talk about these things and bring someone like you in so we can try to fix the disconnect, right?
Let's do it. Let's fix it. I mean, and I
So-
think the one thing to note though is everyone I talk to in every city says the dating landscape.
And I agree with that.
Is
Yeah.
trash.
Yeah.
You
It's
know?
not just Vegas.
It's not just Vegas.
Yeah.
Everybody says it.
Yeah.
And we all, but I think each region, if you will, has its own challenges. You know, and I think here, you know, I think we both kind of know what the challenges are, so to speak. So, you know.
That is such a great point. I know people in Phoenix, Scottsdale, Nashville, Miami, Portland, all say dating market trash. I saw an Instagram post where some chick was in Lebanon and she said dating sucks in Lebanon. So I was like, this is a worldwide,
it's a worldwide problem.
issue.
Let's, you know what, we're going to fix the world today.
Yeah.
Or we'll at least get started.
Yeah, I like it. Okay. So let's talk about your personal experience. You went from dating to married in 10 months.
Yeah.
How did you do that?
Oh my goodness. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna take the long way around for this one. Because I haven't really talked about this so in depth publicly, but when I kind of reviewed your questions ahead of time, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go a little bit deeper. So so my husband and I, we kind of connected a year before we ever really started dating, but he was just like in the Instagram DMs, you know, but in a good, respectful way, but he was just always there. And when I got to that point where I said, you know what? I'm gonna take my own advice. Part one of my own advice is cut off all the distractions. So anybody who, you know, is not serious, who's not actually making moves, all the bench warmer players, cut them all off. What are they doing for you? So I had like this time limit in my head where I was like, okay, if none of these people who, you know, say they want this and want that with me, none of them make a move by like X date, then that's it. They're done. They're blocked. We're finished. No, nothing. Right. And so I was like going through DMs because that's one of the places where they live.
Yeah.
And I saw him and I was like, hey, like, now at this point, I can't even remember how we connected, but I was looking back at our messages and I'm like, this is like such a thoughtful man. Like he's really trying to talk to me and I can see myself where I'm like barely responding. So I was like, hey, whatever. We connected. We started speaking on FaceTime. We started as a long distance relationship. 2 weeks after we had our first phone conversation, he came out to visit me. And then the rest in that regard was history. Okay. We started dating immediately. And, you know, within a few months, we're talking about engagement in that whole timeline. So we got engaged and our initial plan was not to get engaged. We got engaged, I think, after like 7-8 months, was not to immediately get married, right? Like that really wasn't the plan. But once we got engaged, my mom was like, listen, I don't know exactly why, but you guys need to get married right away. Like you know, you want to be together, you need to get married right away. And I'm like, okay. And like, she wasn't really giving me a lot of detail in this. So somehow we were like, all right, we are going to get married right away. Let's just do it. So we had a micro wedding. We had a micro wedding at my mom's house, like in her country club. Like we did it all there. And my dad came to town. My mom and dad are divorced. And my dad had been struggling with cancer and he was in a good spot, or so I thought at that point. But with COVID, we hadn't been able to see him.
Oh, yeah.
And because he lived in Denver and he's like, don't come out here. Like I have to stay, you know, sheltered. And I was like, okay. So we were talking on FaceTime, you know, whatever. And he didn't tell us that his cancer was back and that it was bad. So he gets to the micro wedding. He gets to the wedding. He travels and, you know, he's bad. Okay. And so then I'm like, this is why my mom said we had to get married right away. She knew.
Okay. She wanted
me to have that. So my dad got to walk me down the aisle, you know, and all the things. And, you know, there are people in our lives who were like, we can't believe you guys got married and didn't invite us and that, you know, and all these things. And this is something I never really talked about that why.
Yeah.
But that's really why we got married so fast. Like we were, you know, we had already had the conversations. We did get engaged, all the things, but we were planning like a big wedding and all the things. And my mom was like, no, you have to do it now. And I am so thankful that we did because I got to have those moments with my dad. And you know, he passed just a couple months after that.
Wow.
So I'm, you know, so thankful that my dad got to bond some with my husband, that we got to have, you know, we got to have those moments together. But that's really how it happened. So the relationship flourished and all of that with like using my advice and following my own advice, all of that. But, you know, the real story is that the catalyst behind getting married was that I wanted, you know, I was able to have my dad there and my mom, I can thank her for that.
What an amazing story.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, so I have a couple questions based on what you just said.
Yes.
Okay, so first of all, your husband was already communicating with you in your DMs. Okay, so for the men watching this, I feel like sometimes men, I don't want to say they want to be treated like women, but sometimes men expect women to kind of make the first move and show their intentions first.
Sure.
I think as men, if you want something, you got to go get it.
Sure.
And would you agree with that? And what did your husband say to you to make it clear that he was interested without coming off as creepy or thirsty?
Sure. Okay. So the first thing with you saying that a lot of men want women to, I don't want to say make the first move. Some do, but I think, and my husband agrees with this actually, is that in like our modern society right now, it can be hard for a man to approach a woman and approach with that intent without coming off as creepy, without being worried that someone's going to accuse him of harassment, of all these things. So they've got to be careful, right? And women, we've got to help them out a little bit. So what I like to tell like my female clients is like, he needs to like shoot the shot, but you can like lay the foundation for the play. Let him know that the basket is open, like he can shoot, you know, make it clear that you're open to that,
What signs should men look for from a woman to make sure that he understands that it's okay to shoot your shot?
I mean, it depends on the situation, of course, right? So if you're out and about and you're making eyes with somebody, making eye contact, I always tell my girls, I'm like, tip your drink. Like if you see him, he's looking, you've made eye contact more than 2 or 3 times, like give him a little something, like let him know, like I see you, you see me. Okay, hopefully you'll come over. Men still need to take that first step, but women can lay the foundation, right? So then if you're having conversations, if you do the DM route or something like that, if she's never responding with words and only hearting everything you say, just double tapping a heart, move on. Because a woman, if she's interested in what you're saying, if what you're saying is meaning something to her, she's going to type out a message to you, And so don't be creepy. Like, don't just send heart eyes and fire emojis. Write something like, oh, wow, you're at a Pilates event on a rooftop. That looks cool. I've never done Pilates before. I'd like to try that. Even if that's not true, but like you're showing that you noticed something about her other than her beautiful face and
looks,
physique. You know what I'm saying?
It's always better as men to speak to the woman you're pursuing in ways that are specific to her.
Absolutely.
Something that can't be copy and pasted and
exactly like the good morning, beautiful, delete it off your phone right now.
Okay.
I
love that. I love that. Do you think it's important that potential partners are like friends first, like your husband? He didn't just come right in trying to talk like getting serious. You guys had a relationship first, and then you took that next step. Is that the ideal situation, or is that not necessary?
I don't think so. I mean, I wouldn't. And I mean, my husband, we are friends. He is my best friend. We love to be together. Like even, we have fun, but we're not friends. We weren't, we weren't friends first. Like we initially matched on a dating app. I was traveling though. And so we didn't talk. He followed me on Insta. And then yes, we were having conversations, but like we were not building a friendship. It was obvious that like his conversation was romantic in nature. So I think that a lot of people use that as a cop-out to say, oh, we need to be friends first, because 9.9 times out of 10, a cross-gender relationship is not really founded in true friendship, because someone likes someone deep down.
For sure.
Maybe they haven't said it.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
And that's okay. And if you never say it, then great, you can remain your platonic friends. But I don't think we need to be so focused on that. Engaging in a romantic relationship with somebody doesn't need to feel so scary and so so monumental. Like explore it. If you break up at the end of the day, like, yes, that's sad. But if you always try to stay in that gray area of like, I'm not committed, we're not this, we're not that, you are never going to get over that hump. So yes, get to know each other and make sure you have like core values in common. But I don't think you have to be friends first, then date, then this, then that. I think every relationship is unique. Everybody's timetable is going to be unique. Most people would think I was insane for getting married so quickly, but we have 4 children. We have a beautiful family, a beautiful life, and I couldn't imagine, anything else.
Yeah. And I love that. I feel like a lot of times people try to be like too cool, right? Like no one wants to get hurt. So people have feelings. They never voice them. I think that it's better for men have to be willing to get rejected sometimes. I mean, I don't think you can expect women really to jump out there and do that. So I think to start fixing the dating market, I think we got to get men more comfortable with shooting their shots, whether it's DMs or in person, going up, approaching women, being okay with being rejected. Because at least now you don't have to guess now.
Exactly.
And then you can move on to the next one until you do find the woman that you want.
I totally agree with that. And I think that along with that, so on the man's side, yes, we need to be back to being able to approach, to be intentional in your approach so that the person you're approaching realizes that you're being, real and sincere. And on the woman's side, we have to be a little bit more open, be kinder. Even if it is somebody you're going to reject, you don't have to be mean about it. And you don't have to, degrade people, because all that does is make this man worse for the next woman, because then they're getting jaded, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's getting jaded, and now everybody's acting even cooler than before.
Yeah.
They don't want to get hurt. So if everybody could remember there was another person on the other side of that conversation, of that DM, of that in-person interaction, like it's another human who just went out on a limb to try to have a talk with you.
Mm-hmm.
I think we could get a lot further with people finding their connections and not being so scared to put their heart out there.
I love that. I think women do need to realize that this guy thought enough of you to risk going up to you and talking to you.
Yeah.
And also, I love what you said. When you rejecting him, you're not going to like everyone. When you reject him, that's fine. But just remember that your response to him is going to affect the next woman that he goes into to talk to too. So it is like a circle of life. Like you're putting that energy out into the universe, and it can come back to you.
Absolutely. Well, one last thing about that, which is kind of like the foundation of it. My dad used to always tell me, like, before school dances and stuff, when I was like in middle school, it was like, if a boy comes and asks you to dance, just do a dance with them.
Yeah.
Nothing's going to happen if you dance with them. Like, it doesn't matter, but you have no idea how hard it was for him to come ask you.
For sure.
And I kept that with me, and that's it's the same philosophy. Like, it was really hard for the person to do it, most likely. So think about that, ladies, before you just, wave them off and write them off.
Yeah. Totally agree. How can a man approach a woman and show intent without coming off as fake or performative?
I mean, I think that is just, I think the person has to just approach with their natural personality, So if you're out somewhere and someone's going to do like an IRL approach, which, is so rare, kind of think a little bit about what you want to say first and just be genuine. Like, saw you from across the room, I have to have a conversation with you.
Yeah.
Like, can I have 5 minutes of your time?
Yeah.
Like, really just be genuine and authentic about it. And the same goes if it's an electronic conversation. Don't try to be cool. Don't try to neg anyone or like put them down or be like, oh, you probably too good for me, but I had to say something. Like, don't say all that. Just be like, hello, my name is such and such. Like, how are you?
Okay.
And see how the conversation can go. But I think, and just know your audience and know your timing. Like, don't make it a huge thing and don't embarrass anyone or call them out in a group, because some women don't like that kind of attention. Try to find, a way to do it in a sincere way without, doing the absolute most.
Love that. What about women? What if a woman wants a guy to come and talk to her? What are subtle things that she can do to get his attention?
I mean, I think, again, if you're out and about, making the eye contact, smile.
Yeah.
Ladies, like, I know it's like we don't want men to be like, you should be smiling. But like, if you smile, you're showing somebody like that good energy. You're putting it out there. You're going to attract it. But furthermore, if you're like at a bar or a coffee shop, ask somebody what they're ordering.
Okay.
That's like such a small thing in both ways. Like,
Right.
hey, you come here a lot. Like, what are you ordering? Or like, ooh, that looks good. What is it? Yeah. And if the person's really engaging in the conversation with you and like really explaining it to you, you'll know that either, they're friendly and like, great, you have a good conversation, or that they're interested in further. If they're just like, it's a latte and they move on, well, okay, let it live,
And I think that that's important, like, especially for the men watching. Like, I've had situations where women have been staring at me, smiling, like, what is she looking at? And it's like, maybe she wanted me to come over and talk to her. I don't know. But like, now that that's in my head, I'll take notice of that. And maybe so. And if not, then maybe she's looking at the person behind me. Like, who knows? But it's definitely worth.
What? The good old fashioned art of sending somebody something when you're somewhere is lost. Like, send somebody a drink. And if you don't want to be so presumptuous, yes. See, and that's the thing. A little something can go a long way. If you feel like you're making eye contact, be like, hey, the gentleman over there wants to get you and your friend maybe one drink, whatever. Send you guys an appetizer. It doesn't have to be a drink. I don't care. But like, that's another way for someone who doesn't want to make the physical approach to try. And anytime that that's happened to me, we've always been like, hey, come over here. Like, come chat with us every time.
And I want to co-sign that, because there's been times when I've been out and I've sent a bottle of my wine over to their table. It definitely works. So yeah, guys, you're gonna have to spend a little money on that, but it's definitely worth the risk.
Absolutely.
Okay. You talk about not dating on potential.
Mm-hmm.
Please explain.
Ooh, that's a good one. I think, especially as women, we are so willing to a lot of times be like, oh my gosh, this person has XYZ in their foundation. Surely, in their 5-year plan, they have got this, that, and the third. And in 7 years, they're going to be like my ideal person and I'm going to stick it out along the way. And it's like that they may become that person, maybe they never will. And the same is true vice versa, of course. And so I think it's really important to meet people where they're at and to know the person that you decide to start building with, if that is the person they always are you okay with that? Not if they get that promotion, if they go back to school, if they decide, they want to, move out to the countryside, whatever it is. I don't know. Everybody has all these things that they want. But you have to think like, if we're both who we are today and like, yes, we're going to grow together, but if none of those things come to fruition, are we still at the same place? Like, do we still want to be together? Is this somebody I still want to build with? Instead of imagining what they may become, because a lot happens in life and different, the journey changes. So you can't think about who they could be. You need to think about who they are right now and if that's okay with you.
I think that is amazing advice. And I definitely need to take that too. We try to put our own expectations on the other people, and that causes problems. If you take someone for what they are right now and ask yourself, do I love this person as is? That'll fix a lot of problems.
Yes.
That is A+ advice by you.
Yes. So true.
How important is emotional intelligence in dating compared to chemistry?
Oof. I always say that chemistry is like what's going to open the door, right? Like you've got that chemistry that, it's physical, it's biological, it's natural. But if all there is that chemistry, that chemical connection, you can't build a life on that. You can't build a real relationship on that. Having the emotional intelligence within yourself really to understand if it's just chemistry or if there's more, can really be the difference between getting stuck in a relationship and wasting your time with like that chemistry spark for too long, or versus knowing like, hey, this connection is here for a good time, not a long time. It's okay to explore those types of connections. And once you realize that it doesn't have the bones to build more, then you have to move on and you have to be able to do that. And I think a lot of people just can't. They think that chemistry means there's a connection, that chemistry means compatibility. And that's just simply not true. Most of that just comes from the inside,
Okay. So let's dive deeper on this. What's the difference in your opinion between chemistry and compatibility?
I mean, I really think that chemistry is mostly natural. Your pheromones go together. A lot of times it's physical attraction that really matches up. Sometimes it's even a very dramatic relationship. Some people get addicted to the fight and then the making up, right? Like some people get addicted to all that. And all of that is occurring because you don't have true compatibility. Compatibility is like, can we just like sit and watch TV together and think that this is like the best night? Do we have similar core values? Do we view life in similar ways? Do we see our futures the same way, whether it happens or not? But like, do we want to build towards these things the same way? Do we have all those similar backgrounds that take you through those hard times? Because the reality is hard times come in life. And if you don't have true compatibility and true connection in your relationship, it's going to be very difficult to navigate those hard times. Like the good times, it's like you can navigate good times with anybody, sure. But chemistry is not going to help you navigate those tough times with your person. Like that's just not enough.
I love that. I always say my ideal person is someone that I can watch paint dry with and have fun.
Exactly. Figure out like, oh my God, that's hilarious. You see that paint drop? It looks like XYZ,
I love that. So would you say that it's more important to prioritize compatibility in a partner than it is chemistry?
I think that if you are truly compatible with somebody, the chemistry will naturally be there. I think it may not feel as electric as some people are expecting, as the television has made us believe that it's going to feel. But I think if you're truly compatible with somebody, the chemistry is there and will continue versus fizzle out quickly.
Okay. Does anything come to mind as far as what are some subtle green flags that people should look for in a partner that often get overlooked?
I mean, I think number one is that consistency. Like somebody who follows through with what they say. I'm going to call you later. They're going to call. We're going to go out next week. Plans are made. A lot of people think that like that's boring, that boring aspect of the relationship of kind of knowing what's going to happen, they forget that that's what it's supposed to be. You're supposed to think,
Yeah.
if he says he's going to call me later, he's going to call.
Yeah.
If she says she's going to meet me on Saturday and like clear her schedule, like she's going to do that. So I think that finding somebody who follows through with what they say is like a subtle green flag that people overlook, because either some people just assume it, or some people are so used to never receiving it that they think that nobody does that. And that's not true. And I just think somebody who takes interest in your life. You tell me I have a huge meeting at work on Wednesday. On Wednesday, it's like in the morning, I'm like, hey, I hope that presentation goes well. Afterwards, how did it go? Didn't go well? All right, let me think. What can I do to cheer him up? It went well? Should we celebrate? Those little things, people should care about what's going on with you and in your life and take interest in what interests you. I'm not saying you have to do the same hobbies together and whatnot, but it's supporting the person in their interests and being like, yeah, I'll tag along with you to this Comic-Con this time or like whatever, because it's something you like and we want to do it together. So those are some things that you should be looking out for.
I like that. People talk about setting standards. When is setting standards healthy versus it becoming an actual defense mechanism?
I honestly think that so many of the standards people have in place for themselves are defense mechanisms.
Ooh, okay.
Because a lot of standards should be common, basic things, right? Like you want somebody who follows through on their word. You want somebody who likes you, who prioritizes you, who you have fun with. Like all of those things should really be more so what a standard is. But then people are like, my standard is must be 6 foot, 1 inch and a half or above. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Must have this job, must drive these types of cars. I'm like, those aren't standard. Those aren't core values. Those aren't things that should be standardized, because guess what? The car they drive, maybe next year they don't have that job anymore, or they want to like save the earth and they ride a bicycle now. I don't know. And so I think that people really need to get realistic with themselves about the things that truly matter in a partner that you want to build a life with, because, most of those things can change. What if, never mind, actually, I'm not going to go through so many what if scenarios because that's, but we get it, right?
Yeah.
So I think that you really need to think to yourself. And I tell especially the women, because I just feel like so many of my female clients, it's always like the 6 foot thing, the 6-figure thing. All of those things are great to have if that's what you like, but you need to think about the things that really make a difference to you, the core values of a person. Those are the things that you should be focused on. The rest of it has to be a little bit flexible. It just has to be.
So you make a great point, because I've heard that too, where women are like, my man has to be above 6 feet tall, make $250,000. He's got to be caring, nurturing, and all this stuff. How real do you think that is? Or can we tell men that like, as long as your girl is attracted to you, then all these standards and rules that she makes up aren't going to apply if she's into you?
Exactly. If somebody is really into you, they're going to be flexible on a lot of things. The problem is that a lot of people won't even entertain the idea. You know what I mean? So someone approaches and they're like, oh, he looks a little short, like move on.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, your loss, because there are lots of great people out there who aren't 6 foot or whatever. But yeah, if a woman is into you as a man, like she's going to be flexible on a lot of things. It's just, you have to get past that threshold if she has all of those, standards, so to speak, set for herself.
Is there a line where, let's just say hypothetical person X has 10 things that they're looking for in a partner, and they meet someone and they only have 7 of them? Where do you draw the line between settling, but then still giving someone a chance for you to fall in love with them? Because I feel like people have these standards, and a lot of good relationships never happen because like, oh, you need to be over 6 foot, you're 5'10", I'm not even going to talk to you.
Yeah. I mean, I think that that's why I don't like those lists. I don't like people to have lists of standards. So for what I always tell people, I'm like, listen, let's make a list of everything you desire. Like, let's just make that list. Now let's prioritize that list from 1 to however many things you felt like listing. Now let's look at the top 5. And then a lot of times we will investigate what those top 5 are. And if they're things that are so superficial, I'm like, no, you need to change that. Then once we have that built, I'm like, these are your core values. These are the things you're looking for. These are your non-negotiables. We can all have our own non-negotiables, but you can only have a couple of them. And then take a look in the mirror. Do you really think that you also fit someone else's list of 100? No, you don't, because we're humans. None of us are perfect. We all have things that are good and things that are, not so good, or, our own little flaws and quirks. And so anybody who wants to be so rigid like that isn't ready for love. They're not ready for a real relationship, because a real relationship is always going to have compromise, give and take. And so if you're not ready to say, all right, I wanted 6'1", but I'll take 5'10".
Yeah.
I mean, come on, like, person can't help how tall they are.
Yeah.
And that's not going to show whether they're a good partner or not. The only reason that you're so concerned with that is because, number one, you care about what social media has to say about how you guys look next to each other. I want to wear heels. I'm like, how often are you even wearing those heels? And guess what? A confident man can be 5 foot tall. You can be 6 foot in heels and they don't care. They're like, this is my woman. She's beautiful. She's tall and I'm here. So most men aren't even thinking about your heel height. This is all stuff in your head that you've made up or that society has put upon us. And we have to get over it. Because I'm like, how many of these, like you said, $250,000 a year, over 6 foot tall, caring, nurturing, 401ks maxed out, whatever. How many of those people do you think exist? Because that's the thing. Like I saw a survey a man on the street interview where they were asking women, like, how many men do you think in America make over 6 figures? And they were like, 70%.
What?
Yeah, my husband showed it to me. I was like, what? And they were like, how many do you think make, this and that? And I'm like, no. It's just not that common. So then if you're slashing out this person who makes that salary you want or who is nurturing and caring because they aren't 6 feet or whatever, I'm like, you just really, the amount of people you have to choose from is just getting smaller and smaller, and you're just going to be alone forever.
I love that you say that, because I feel like a lot of men don't approach women out of fear of like, oh, I don't meet, the cutoffs. They look at a woman.
Mm-hmm.
If she has any sort of success, or if she's beautiful, or both, oh, she probably wants, a rich guy or a celebrity or a successful guy. So they don't even try, right?
Uh-huh.
And so what I don't want to happen is that women fall into that. It's like, you better have all these things, because they think that 80% of men have all this stuff. And they're like, if you don't have that, I'll be single. I'm good by myself. I don't need a man. And I feel like that is contributing to hurting the dating market, right? So I do think that it's important for women to understand that the 6'4" brain surgeon that looks like a model that's making $500,000, that is very, very rare.
Yeah.
And if you're going to hold out for that, then you better be ready to be single.
Exactly. You better be ready to be single.
Yeah.
Because it's just not a high percentage of people. And that is okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's great. But also, yes, that's the thing. People need to be realistic about who's actually available to be with them and how likely it is that you're going to come across them. And that you are just, everything that they want in their list, because people can just be a little bit delusional about that.
Right. I love that. Okay, a couple more questions for you. What's your thoughts on dating apps and social media? Do you think that they're making finding love easier or harder?
I think it's both. So I think that it's easier in the way that you have access to people that you may not come across in your day-to-day, right? Like if you're using it how they should be used, which is like as a tool to connect with people, then you have access to people that you aren't in their social circles, that you're not going to be at a party with them, whatever it is, like a way to meet them. So that's amazing. That, opens up doors. My husband was living in Texas when we met, but the way that a lot of the dating apps work, and they feel very gamified, right? It feels like you're playing a game. It's like you've got a pocket full of options at any given moment. Swipe left, swipe right, it's a match, boom, all the things. It feels like a game. And when it feels like a game, people treat each other like they're in a game, like it's not real.
Yeah.
And so that's the part that makes it very challenging, because 50% of the people are playing it as a game or just like to get the attention of talking to all these people. And then there's the other half of the people who are like, wow, this is a great tool that I could have access to these people and meet somebody, because in my day-to-day life, I don't have that opportunity. I work at a school or like wherever, most people work in places where you're almost in like a gender dominated, I'm sure you're with mostly men, right?
For sure.
When I was working, I was with mostly women. So where was I going to meet the person at work like people did, in the olden days or whatever.
Right.
So, but people need to use them as a tool and remember that there's real people on the other side. So I would say on the one hand, it can be helpful. On the other hand, it has been detrimental.
Right. I love that. Okay, I appreciate you coming on. You've been an amazing guest.
Thank you.
If someone wants to work with you,
sure.
and wants to hire you as a dating coach, how do they do that?
They can find me on my website to like book with me, and it's alexisgermany.com. And then they can also follow me on all social platforms because I do a lot of free advice, and it's Alexis Germany Fox on every platform.
Okay, for sure. And I'll make sure I have those tagged when I post this.
Yes.
I highly recommend everybody follow Alexis. Like the advice that she gives is definitely top notch, as you can see on with some of the answers that you were given today. You're very relatable, and you explain things in easy to understand terms, right? Which is very important. Yeah. So cool. Anything else you want to say? You want to get out there as far as dating?
What do I want to say? I just want to say, people, stop being delusional about who you think you're going to get. And I don't mean that, in a bad way.
That's not
because
about
there's
that,
amazing people out there, like a lot of amazing people. They're just not going to have all 100 out of 100 things.
Yeah.
So be a little bit more open, be a little bit more like willing to put yourself out there and see who you might meet, because you just might meet the love of your life. You never know.
Love that. A+ advice. I love that. Cool. Alexis, I appreciate you coming in. I'm Will Scott, Elite Level Status Podcast. We'll see you guys next time.